Two, one. Hi, everyone. This is Lisa Wozniak with Woz Marketing, and I am joined today by Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux of K2 Visionaries. Welcome, ladies. I am thrilled to have you.
Thank you, Lisa. We're delighted to be here.
Well, just to give our viewers a little bit of information about you, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux are both... I'm sorry, I should have done that, shouldn't I?
It's Kate and Katie. It's a little confusing.
Well, both of you are licensed marriage family therapists, and you guys met in 2006 through a licensure supervision program. Okay. And their paths continued to cross for several years. They both served on the Broward Association of Marriage and Family Therapy from 2012 to 2014, and Dr. Kate as president and Katie as vice president. Their leadership skills were a perfect combination, and in 2014, Dr. Kate and Katie decided to launch K2 Visionaries, where they provide licensure supervision, team building, CEU courses, CEU collaboration, attorney-approved provided practice paperwork, and private practice coaching. Now, in the beginning of 2016, they wanted the ability to reach and serve a larger population of clinicians across the globe, so they created the Private Practice Startup, which offers free weekly podcasts, webinars, and online courses. Now, their vision is fulfilling dreams through world-class personal and professional development, and they value passion, equality, collaboration in all that they do. They want everyone that they come in contact with them to have that experience, and they're committed to helping other therapists achieve their dream practices as they created their six-figure full fee practices from the ground up. Now, that's impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a couple of special interests. Dr. Kate loves spending time with her family, and she's a true foodie who loves to travel. And Katie loves trying new experiences. She's a liver of life and loves to travel, spend time with her family, and a self-growth junkie, an amateur photographer.
Yeah, and actually I just got back from the Grand Canyon, so check that off the bucket list. So I'm excited.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. And Katie, you're an amateur photographer. That sounds pretty exciting as well.
I have a great eye. I just don't know all the numbers and all that stuff. So yes, I
share
love
that hobby with you. Yeah, I love that too as well.
Well, welcome. We are thrilled that you're here and wanted to let our viewers know that both of these ladies are offering an incredible giveaway today. They'll be offering the attorney-approved HIPAA form for free. And they're going to be, at the end of the interview, they're going to be offering some more detailed information on how you can get a discount on their package of paperwork. So they've got a special code for you and a link to provide. But if it's okay with the two of you, I'd like to go ahead and just dive right in and learn a little bit more information about the two of you.
Of course. Let's
get
started.
Now, I know that with K2 Visionaries, you both are really focused on helping other private practice owners grow the best possible private practice for them. But how did you two decide upon your specific niche?
You know, when we first launched K2 Visionaries several years back, we were more focused on mental health professionals in general. And over the years, since we both have our own thriving private practices, we've just naturally attracted other practitioners who came to us separately, because Katie has a practice that's in Coral Springs in South Florida and mine's in Fort Lauderdale. And people were just coming to us, other clinicians, asking, how do you do this? I have the clinical training. I want to create a thriving private practice, but I don't have the marketing knowledge, the business background, the finance background, and there's so much to know about being an entrepreneur. And so we were actually attracting private practice coachees just naturally over the years, and realized that we were really passionate about that area, which has inspired our newest division of K2 Visionaries, which we launched in January of 2016. So we're about to come on our year anniversary of that. And with the private practice startup, we're really honing in on our niche is to be able to help mental health professionals in private practice who are ambitious and really wanting to create their dream private practice and make that a reality.
So within the scope of helping these private practice owners grow the best practice possible, what does your ideal client look like?
Sure.
So are you help with marketing, or the ones that you help with legal terminology or paperwork, or what does that look like for the two of you?
So ultimately, we're really looking for the ambitious person who really wants to know and learn about business and grow their practice. So whether that's a student, it could be a student, or maybe someone just starting out, or someone who's been in private practice who has had some trials and tribulation and is really frustrated. Kate and I are really passionate about the system of business. Of course, we're not taught that in school, and most professionals, doctors, lawyers, aren't taught that as well. So people who are excited, people who are committed, people who are willing to be coached, take suggestions to really flourish and build what they are looking to build. Kay and I are just really passionate about business in general. So anything entrepreneurial, we're like in it, about it, and really incorporating it into what we do. So not only do we coach and provide these services, but we're constantly investing in ourselves to be able to better give and support people in their business and what they're up to.
And that's so important, and it's such a great service for you to provide. As the two of you began K2 Visionaries, and you came in contact with so many of these other private practice owners that were struggling, what were some of the specific pain points that you found that they were experiencing that led you to the niche that you provide?
A lot of times people are so intimidated about, where do I start? I want to build a private practice. I know that I want to be in private practice to have more freedom and flexibility, or whatever their reasoning is as to why they want to go into private practice. But a lot of people are so intimidated by it, they don't know where to start. So it's almost like that analysis paralysis. Where do I start? There's so many things to work on. Should I start with marketing? Should I have my location? If I build it, and create my office, are they just going to come to my, come knocking on the door, or the phone is going to start ringing? That's not really how it works. So a lot of times people get overwhelmed. There are so many different facets to being a business owner, from creating legal and ethical paperwork, not just using somebody else's hand-me-down paperwork over the years that you have no idea if, you're really protected in using that, to designing a beautiful office, to marketing, to branding yourself before you even start marketing, being clear on your vision, your mission, your culture, your ideal clients. I mean, there's just so many facets to private practice that are important to focus on.
And it's funny you say that, because I just had a call with one of my old interns who's now licensed, and we were talking about her getting into practice, and she goes, Katie, I guess I really didn't realize. She's like, I thought if I got an office and got on psychology today, like I'd have clients, and that's not it. Building a business is a whole separate skill set. That's really important. So a lot of times the people that we work with are feeling frustrated, confused, overwhelmed with the process and not really knowing where to go. And of course, we've probably made the majority of the mistakes. So we know exactly what they're going through, and we know how to help them out. And we've recreated a system and a plan that really supports people right from the beginning.
Yes.
And of course, if you're in a place where you're stuck and you've been in business, we look at going back to the beginning and really creating your business from there. So
yeah, we really work with people all along the continuum, as long as they're motivated and ambitious, entrepreneurs, or wanting to be an entrepreneur with creating their private practice. We start from the beginning, and we also see seasoned practitioners who may have created a private practice that they thought there was going to be their dream private practice, but the business starts running them versus them running the business. And they find out that maybe they got into this because they want to have more freedom and flexibility, but
they have anything but.
Yes, they're being a slave to the business. So we work with people in all capacities.
That's so great that you bring that up. Those are such great pain points, for lack of a better word, because there's so much of the business side of things that these private practice owners are just not taught in school. And it just, my heart really goes out to them. And it isn't one specific area. It's not just marketing. It's not just, the hiring of the right personnel to support them in their practice. And it runs the gamut, and it can quickly become so incredibly overwhelming that I see so many of them, like I'm sure you do, that just instantly go, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Did I bite off more than I can chew? And so it's so great that you provide a service that will sort of hold their hand and help them through that process. And I have to say, you guys know that I'm a big fan of the both of you anyway. But one of the
right back at you.
One of the things that you guys do so well that just impressed me right away, that I think is just at the top of your specialty list, is you have this this packet of forms and systems and procedures that you use to run an incredibly smooth, well-oiled machine. And I have to tell you, for anybody watching this who is not already familiar with K2 Visionaries, you have to get familiar with K2 Visionaries because they are impressive, to say the very least. But what I wanted to know from the both of you is, I'm guessing, and jump in here and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that this collaboration that the two of you have come up with to create this incredibly well-oiled machine with systems and procedures and paperwork, I'm guessing came out of the struggle that the two of you experienced in the very beginning. So can you tell me a little bit about how that showed up in your lives and how you made that a specialty of yours?
When I first started in private practice over a decade ago, I didn't really have the marketing background. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had no business training, but I came from a family of entrepreneurs, and so I kind of had the field of dreams mentality. If I build it, they will come. I know I say that often, but I actually used somebody else's hand-me-down paperwork in the beginning and kind of piecemealed my paperwork together from looking at other people's templates and looking at an agency's template that I was working at before that, thinking that, okay, I'll be good to go with this. And then realized, no, therapists incur the most liability in their documentation. I really need to protect myself with this. And Katie and I have actually worked for over a decade to perfect our paperwork and bring it to the highest standard. And then we worked with a family law attorney and a mental health care law attorney, both of them reviewing the paperwork. And that was a huge process. I mean, it took us a decade to perfect our paperwork and bring it up to that standard, because it's constantly evolving and growing, and the situations will arise that you hadn't really thought about. And, we make sure that we have all of those situations covered. And you talked a little bit about system. System is a big buzzword for us, just like authenticity is. It's something that's so important, and developing your system and having a system in place for private practice paperwork that's legal and ethical and meets the highest standard, it helps you to be more confident as a clinician running a successful practice. Because when you have doubts or you're not quite sure about the caliber or quality that you're having in your paperwork or other things, it really starts to weigh on you. You can feel like, oh my gosh, am I in over my head? Kind of like what you were saying earlier.
And another thing is, Kate and I also teach medical errors and ethics and boundaries, which are both required courses here in the state of Florida. So we're always investing and evolving. We both supervise interns. And, at the very young age of 26, I was in management. And so not only do I have a really strong clinical background, but all the other things, risk management, contracts, paperwork, I was involved in creating an electronic health record for a year. So really looking at the legal aspect and documentation is so important. And I always joke around. I say I'm a lawyer like by proxy. I love law and I love legal stuff because I like to find like the loopholes. It's kind of like coupons and discounts for me, right? Like, how can I negotiate something really good? I like to know exactly how to protect myself, but also, what we can get away with, what is the gray area, what's okay. And obviously that is paperwork, and paperwork is not the gray area, but it is. We need to have certain things. And there's a lot of things people don't think about. And I guess we'll get into some of that, and we'll share some kind of little tips with you guys on some things.
The essentials that you need to know about paperwork. Yeah.
Absolutely. I like what you had said about the paperwork is one of the pain points in which a clinician is most vulnerable. And I love that line. That's perfect, because it really kind of hits home an area that people don't often think about, especially clinicians. We figure, okay, if we've got this thing drawn up from a lawyer, we're okay. Well, are we okay in every state, or are we okay in just one state? And does it cover it? Particularly in an age where we live in a society that unfortunately is so malpractice driven that there's just such a need to make sure that you're safe and that you are secure. So I wanted to ask you, with that in mind, and then I want to go ahead and get into your incredibly valuable tips, but the paperwork that you offer to your clients, is this covered in all states, or is it covered in some states, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have Florida specific private practice paperwork, a la carte, individual forms and packages. And then we also worked with a healthcare law attorney to make it so it's multi-state. So it's for all of the states across the U.S.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share this one thing in regards to how we decided to move forward with the paperwork. And one of the reasons being is I had an intern in practice, and she was getting ready to be licensed. And she said, I'm getting ready to start practice. I found an office, and the woman said I can use her paperwork. And I said, oh, bring it into supervision so we can look at it and go over it. And she goes, oh, it's online. I go, okay, great. So I went to the woman's website, and I was like really blown away of the lack of information she had. She didn't even ask about suicidal ideations and homicidal ideations and things like that. And I can only imagine, God forbid, you have a client that comes in who's suicidal and you never even ask. Verbally or on your paperwork, and something happens to that client, you could be held liable for negligence. And that's like when I called Kate and I was like, we need to do this. And then it created the, whirlwind of getting all our paperwork together and getting into the, attorneys, and you really got to make sure this is the highest standard. And we worked on that like hardcore for like 3
thousands
months.
of hours, thousands of hours, thousands of dollars. It's quite the process. And for someone,
and your niche was born.
Yes, exactly.
One of our niches, right?
Yes, one of the many ways that we help private practitioners. And when you're first starting out in private practice, you don't have the time and the energy, and most people the monetary funds to invest in having an attorney do that for you. So that's why we really save people time, money, energy, all of that.
And I would even say, even if you acquire someone else's paperwork, to pay an attorney to review that is going to be $500 to $1,000 easily, where our packages are such a good cost, and they're actually cheaper than that. So yeah, let's get into the essentials.
Let's dive in.
And talk about that.
And that's if they even have the thought, the presence of mind to think to do that in the first place. Right. Because you're looking for a location, and you're getting all of your licensing all taken care of in your website, and you're submitting the paperwork with the state. And so, yeah, it's just, it can quickly be overwhelming. So kudos to the two of you for having the presence of mind to make this one of your specialties. So with that in mind, I would love it if you would share with us some of the tips regarding paperwork.
For sure. Anywhere you want us to start specifically?
I'm going to leave that up to you, since you are the industry experts.
Okay, very good. So what we wanted to do is kind of review some of the common costly mistakes that therapists make, cover the most necessary parts of paperwork that you really need to have with your practice, discuss some of the content that's a must in your paperwork, and provide you some tips. Some people want to create their own private practice paperwork, and that's totally cool. So we want to make sure we provide you some tips on how to do that. And you did a great introduction of who we are and what we do. The first thing I think is important to say is, obviously we're therapists, we're not attorneys. So ultimately, even if you got our paperwork and there's something you do in your practice, maybe you do kind of, yoga-based therapy practice, you would still want to consult an attorney. Like, okay, am I working on my scope? How do I language this? How do I get their consent? So, still consulting an attorney on certain things is so important, and they really should be part of your team. We talk about having accountants, lawyers as part of your team of your business, and that is so important. Of course, paperwork can be really difficult to create, but really don't let this be an excuse not to create your dream practice. And of course, paying lots of money to an attorney. I know attorneys range anywhere between $275 at the lowest to $400, $500 an hour. And reading, I don't even know how many pages of paperwork total we have, maybe 5 as a basic package. I mean,
that's just paperwork items, not pages altogether. Yeah.
Yes, we have about 20 plus paperwork items, but pages, I mean, imagine how long it would take an attorney to review that, give you feedback and stuff like that. So you'd be paying for the attorney's time. And Kate had mentioned this is, a costly mistake is using someone's outdated paperwork. Where did they get that? Did they get that from, I don't know, Sarah Lee and Bob Barker? I'm not really sure where that came from and how out of date is that. One thing that we talk about when we do our ethics training, and which blows my mind, is that many people don't even know when their ethics are reviewed and they're not reading it, because in graduate school we have to take an ethics course, right? Yeah, but how many of us are sitting down and reviewing our ethics? Most aren't. I mean, maybe you could print a copy, throw it in the bathroom, and read it during that time because it's not that exciting, or it can be. But for mental health counselors, we reference their ethics all the time, especially on technology, and their ethics are the most updated on technology in 2015. I know that social workers, their last update was 2010, but they're coming on a new update. So most people aren't even looking into the resources we already have to incorporate. Well, we look at that all the time because we're teaching, training, coaching, working with our interns. So we're incorporating the newest information into our paperwork. So, leaving yourself open to outdated paperwork, legal and ethically, is an issue.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you really want to be, in order to do the work that you love and really make a difference in people's lives, you have to make sure that you're protecting yourself. So you want to hold yourself to the highest standard and ensure that you continue to practice legally and ethically. And this is one of the big, big areas in doing so. So let's talk a little bit about the basic forms, I guess. Sure. So the must-haves. The must-haves would definitely be a welcome letter welcoming people to your practice. Of course, you have to have clients sign your consent and your therapy agreement, your policies. I think ours is about, 8 to 9 pages? 7 or so pages. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little longer for the minor consent, because that's also a different issue in regards to who signs what when there's a minor who's being seen by a therapist.
Yeah, so depending on what type of clients you're seeing, if you're seeing minors, you need to have your paperwork geared towards that, and then adults as well, it's a little bit different. So tailoring that.
So speaking important. Of, just to kind of give some ideas is, if you're having an intake consent or moving on to the biopsychosocial, for a child or adolescent, you're going to ask things about school, grades, things like that, where that's not something you would ask. So we also make our intake paperwork specific for an adult or adolescent or child to ask the appropriate questions.
And for adults, like you were mentioning earlier, asking about suicidality or homicidality or any history of addiction. Are there guns in the home? Different questions like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so making sure that you're covering your bases there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the progress notes and process notes, the release of information, treatment plans, documentation and communication forms, so you can track any calls, emails, interactions that you have with the clients, with their support system, with psychiatrists or anybody else that you may be collaborating with after you'd sign that release of information.
Right. And here's a little ninja tip in regards to progress and process notes is a lot of times people will ask us, or insurance wants copies of the progress notes, or my records are getting subpoenaed. You do not have to send your progress notes. What you do is you send a summary,
a treatment summary,
what we call a letter of progress. So that's just a little ninja tip for our therapists listening.
And we also, one of the basic forms that you have to have is the HIPAA form. And so for our HIPAA form that's attorney approved, we wanted to give that away to you guys. We also have awesome discounts on our paperwork packages at the end. So make sure you keep tuning in for that information.
Right. Yeah. So let's just talk about some other important documents. So there's a discharge and or transition summary, a suicidal risk assessment, right? That's really important. I think ours is 2 pages, and it goes beyond the ideation plan and intent. We look at risks, we look at resources, support partners, a specific plan, and some other stuff in that.
And that can also be used for client treatment compliance as well.
Right, so, at-risk clients, certain behaviors. We also have a substance abuse intake form. So this is in addition to our regular intake. Letter of progress we noted. So a lot of times people might be working, or therapists might be working with folks in Department of Children and Families, or the courts, or maybe a probation or parole officer. Maybe they're receiving substance abuse treatment. And so what the letter of progress does, it outlines the admission date, the potential discharge date, how many sessions they're attending, what their progress or lack of progress is towards those sessions, and then the future plan. So whether that's continued therapy, referral to a psychiatrist, or discharge or graduation, that's what the letter of progress incorporates.
There's also the media form. So if you ever videotape or audio tape your therapy sessions for supervision, or if you're training to become a Gottman trained therapist or emotionally focused trained therapist or something like that, where you need to actually show proof of how you're using your therapeutic orientation, that it's consistent with your methodology, you would have to have that media consent form signed from your client. Also having a phone and video for telehealth. Any distance counseling, it's really important to have a specific consent form for that, because there's very unique challenges and aspects to that context that need to be addressed.
Right. There's other risks involved in telehealth, and other, like, rewards, you know, the potential to meet your clients anywhere that they're at within the state or other country, depending on what it is. But they need to be aware of that. One thing, here's another ninja tip in regards to, this is what I pose. So I'll just ask you guys and you answer the question before we give you the question away. So if you haven't done online counseling, you're thinking about doing online counseling, and you're connecting and you have a client that's maybe 90, 100 miles away, an emergency comes up, who do you call? We can't call 911 because that'll ring in your area. We suggest getting the number of the local police department where they are, and also having an emergency contact person. God forbid something happens, suicidality, or some other type of emergency that you would reach out. I don't know, maybe your client's having a session with you and you see them fall off the chair. I don't know, maybe they had a heart attack or a seizure or whatever, and here you are watching this thing and you can't do anything about it. Having that local contact police number is really important. So just not something that we think about in regards to do that. So we've tried to take all the guesswork out for you and really put in a system in place that supports both you and your client. Also having a correct email confidentiality signature that's at the bottom below your signature, so it protects all of your emails in case it ends up in the wrong hands. If you're doing an insurance-based practice, you want to have the authorization for the assignments of insurance benefits. You want to have a super bill template if you're billing for out-of-network or in-network. You may need a collection letter, sliding scale agreements for anyone that uses sliding scale, package forms. I mean, there's the list goes on and on and on. Hopefully people aren't getting overwhelmed with this. We say all of this just to make sure that you're informed practitioners and really knowing, what's needed and how to cover yourself in that area. And another thing is a super bill. So for therapists who do out-of-network insurance, is that your client will need a super bill. So we've created a template and document for that, so you can easily go ahead and give that to your client for them to submit.
I really love how this discussion of all of these incredible tips really just drives home the point to folks that it's not a one-size-all-fits-all approach. You really can't just pull something off of the internet and protect yourself. I love what you had said about how the information that would be required by the insurance company isn't necessarily what they're asking for. That you can provide them a summary and that be just fine. So at the top of the interview, the two of you had talked about how you like to work with mental health professionals, and over time that's sort of expanded to other private practice owners as well. Would that be the case in terms of the paperwork that you offer folks, or is that strictly mental health professionals?
It's strictly for mental health professionals, yes.
Okay. So that wouldn't apply to like a chiropractor or anything else, because they're going to operate on a completely different set of legal standards.
When we say mental health professionals, we mean psychologists, mental health counselors, marriage and family therapists, and clinical social workers.
Absolutely. Good point. So now let me ask you this. We've covered all of this incredible information about the paperwork that would be necessary and how they could be vulnerable if they're not utilizing the correct paperwork and protecting themselves. In your experience, since you folks have been doing this for a decade now, how has this impacted your clients? How has their life and their practice changed as a result of the services that you provide them?
So in regards to, so I just want to make the distinction between clients,
yes,
right?
Because it's kind of
we have two different types of clients, right? So
good point.
obviously there's clients in our practice. And so let me just talk on that, because for me, and I know Kate and I do things, we kind of share one brain. It's a double brain because there's a lot of information in there and it's usually in sync. But the paperwork in regards to how it's helpful is we utilize the paperwork as an outline and a guideline. I just make an assumption that people just sign the paperwork and probably don't read it. So we make it a conversation piece in the beginning of our practice. So it helps our clients know what our policies and procedures are, as well as helps set the guidelines and boundaries for how we practice. So they're also engaged in that, right? And a lot of times people will ask us like, oh, well, how do you do with emergencies? Do you accept calls on the weekends? Do you this? And the answer is no, because we made that really clear in the beginning. So paperwork helps set a standard and a guideline as a clinician. Now, clients in our K2 Visionaries in the private practice startup are therapists. So,
and before you go to that, I just want to comment, because my actual clients in my therapy practice, they so often they will actually read through it. And yes, I discuss it just to make sure that they know the different areas and the most important things. And it's important to read through that. But I'll have clients that will come in and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you explained the reasons why you don't take insurance and the effects of using insurance because of the diagnosis, and I'm a pilot and I would lose my pilot's license, or I'm an FBI agent and this has to be highly confidential and they can't have record that I'm coming to see you. So a lot of times people will say, gosh, I'm so grateful that you took the time to thoroughly explain all of these different aspects. And with our consent policies and agreement and therapy agreement forms, we have one for insurance practices as well as one for self-pay practices, because they're different. And so that's another resource that we offer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you want to go ahead?
So yeah, so in regards to our clients for K2 Visionaries, our therapist clients, is number one, it takes the guesswork out of doing paperwork. And especially in our community here, we have a good, strong reputation, and a lot of people really appreciate the value of just having the paperwork, and it's such at a reduced cost that it's just so easy that they don't have to worry about that.
All the stress.
Yeah, all that stress when you take
there's a lot of there's enough stress to go around with opening up your own business. So taking that off people's plates is really nice.
And I would also say there's a lot of things that they didn't think about. So another little quick ninja tip in regards to text, right? Text is easy. Clients naturally text or email. One thing we don't think about, so say, for example, you serve a domestic violence population, maybe you're working, with a client where there is domestic violence. Well, the partner, who's a perpetrator, for lack of better words, might want to know when the session is. So they might pick up their partner or spouse's phone and say, hey, I forget, when are we meeting? And you just respond back, 6 on Wednesday, and guess who shows up, right? So we have to take in consideration is we assume that the person on the other end is our client, but we don't necessarily really know. So having a policy around text and things like that is important, as well as email. So those are a few things.
And a social media policy as well, because nowadays, I'm sure therapists listening to this are going to say, oh yeah, I just had a client ask to be my friend on Facebook or connect with me on LinkedIn. So being clear from the onset of your relationship with your clients about what your social media policy is very important. Also, if you're a therapist who works with couples like we do, being clear on if you have a no secrets policy or, how you handle secrets, because if you find yourself in a bind with clients where you're seeing one of the partners from the couple and they tell you they're having an ongoing affair, but you can't tell my partner, how do you handle that? If you don't cover yourself from the get-go, you can really get yourself in some sticky, icky situations. And we do live in a litigious society. It's just a reality. And although we're well-intended as therapists and really try to do the best we possibly can, we can find ourselves in situations where we're the ones who are liable.
Right. And regarding the secrets policy, because, we do cover that from the beginning. I'll have clients even say like, oh, well, should I tell you this? Because, you know, you said no secrets or whatever. And I'm like, well, if it's not a secret, if it's a frustration or something, that's okay. But they're aware of it enough to know, which makes our job easier. I mean, you know, when you hear things as a therapist that are kind of like sticky or hairy, I know sometimes I'm like, oh no, like brace myself. What am I about to hear? Yes. You know, type of thing. And just to go back to social media. And so a lot of our paperwork and the things that we introduced into our paperwork was created because of things that we came across. And one of the things I remember telling Kate, I had posted on my social media business page, just kind of like a question, like, you know, what do you do for your own self-care? And I had a client respond on my business page, well, I make an appointment to see you. And I was like, horrified, like, oh my God. And then, so I was uncomfortable because here I am, you know, trying to go to the utmost to protect my client's confidentiality. I was like, wait, she broke her own confidentiality. So I even put that into our consent. If you choose to engage with us in a way that we don't have control over, right? Obviously, we're not going to friend people, but if you choose to engage with us, that you're putting your own confidentiality at risk
on our professional pages,
right? On our professional,
not personal,
right? On our professional pages, then you're putting your own confidentiality at risk, and that's your choice. And so now I don't take it off. Now I don't get scared. Now I don't whatever. I just consider it very good marketing, and appreciation for my client for posting that. So
yeah, I had a client who left a review on my Facebook page, my professional Facebook page. She left a review and it says her first and last name, and she did so at her own risk. And because I have myself covered with paperwork, I'm not going to be the one who's liable at the end of the day. She's the one who's taking that action. I'm not going to blast that all over the internet, say, oh, look, my client left me a review, but it's out there because she took that risk. Yeah.
And you're protected.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So if you could give, based on your niche, and we've been talking about paperwork and you've been sharing some incredible tips, but if you could give only one piece of advice to someone based upon the niche that we covered today, what would that one piece of advice be?
You want to go?
I would say, if you're not getting our attorney approved private practice paperwork, make sure you work with a mental health care law attorney to review your private practice paperwork, all of your forms, to make sure that you're covered.
And what I would say, and how cool is this, because we're like, you know, co-visionaries, 2 people in one business, you guys are getting 2 tips for the price of one, is really to, and I forgot what I was going to say now, is have a system in place, right? So not only, like Kate said, assure that you're working with an attorney, but think through your system. Sometimes people don't even know that you're supposed to write your fees and your consent, right? And so have a system of assuring that everything is clear in your
cancellation
paperwork
policy.
And also utilize the paperwork as a tool. Right. And so when you're having the paperwork, it's not something that clients sign and you throw in the chart. Utilize it as a conversation piece to set clear guidelines, boundaries that will really support you in your work.
That's great advice. That's great advice. And again, it just it goes back to why I'm such a big fan of yours to begin with. It's just there's a system and procedures and paperwork in place so that with each and every client, each and every time, whether that's through your private practice or K2 Visionaries, everything is done systematically the same way each and every time, and it protects you and it provides a sense of confidence and comfort to your clients as well, whether they be private practice or otherwise. So
it sure does.
And that's something that they're so looking for, is that safety, right, and clarity. And so they're really clear, and also having that conversation in the beginning allows them to ask any questions that might come up for them, especially also working with teens. You know, I think with teens, there's other questions that might come up. Are you going to tell my parents, right? But for me, I know that all gets kind of covered in the beginning so that they also feel comfortable in what they're sharing.
Absolutely. So what is your favorite quote and why?
I mean, I have a lot of favorite quotes, but I would say mine is, what is mine?
Yours
is do what you love and love what you do. I have another one that kind of coincides with that, and it's when you do what you love and love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life.
So true.
And I had to think about mine because I have a lot of favorite ones, but really it's almost like a mantra that I live by is everything is perfect exactly the way it is. And I've really had to adapt and accept that that is true in my life. And when I do, or when I'm frustrated, I remind myself of that. And even though I can't see it maybe right at this moment, is that something will reveal itself to just show me that that's true. So I really look at everything just being perfect exactly the way it is.
As long as it's reviewed paperwork by an attorney, right?
My whole life isn't about reviewing my life as an attorney.
I just had to tie it back together.
That's fantastic. So what's next for the two of you? What's out on the horizon? What's the next thing you want to conquer?
Next, oh my goodness.
Actually, we have something in the works that we haven't even shared yet, which we're hoping that is.
We get the inside scoop. This is awesome. Okay, everybody, listen up. Here it is.
In addition to the podcast that we have weekly, where we interview experts in the mental health, entrepreneurial fields, like we interviewed you, we'll be launching yours soon. We offer webinars. We have an ethics and boundaries webinar that we're doing actually tomorrow. We have many online courses on our website, and then we're going to be offering something super exciting. You want to share?
I don't know.
Come on. Come on. You've come this far. Give me the scoop.
Oh, it's something that no one else is doing in the industry. How about that? We'll just leave it at that for now.
Oh, you are such a
tease.
tease.
As we announce it,
that you'll know.
You'll be one of the first to know for sure.
All right. I guess I'll just have to
take that. Because it's really exciting. You guys will have to tune in for sure.
Fair enough. So let's finish up today and talk about your offer and where folks can get it. And if they need to get in contact with you, where can they do that?
Fantastic. Okay. So our email is info@theprivatepracticestartup.com. Actually, it's Kate. Yep. So we decided, sorry, let's not do that one. Do Kate at theprivatepracticestartup.com. So it's KATE at theprivatepracticestartup.com. And for our website, theprivatepracticestartup.com, you want to head over to our shop, which is our online store. You'll look for our paperwork tab under there. You'll find all of our a la carte and our packages there. So we have a base package, which is basically all of the essential forms you need to start a private practice. And the peak package is every single comprehensive form that we have created. That's a really good one for therapists who are considering using insurance. So it's great for insurance and self-pay practices. So the peak package, we're offering an $80 discount. And for the base package, we're offering a $40 discount. And actually, our prices are going to go up as soon as 2017 gets here. So in less than a month, our prices are going to be going up. So you guys can get a double discount, basically. For those of you that act fast and make sure you order before the end of 2016, you'll get the paperwork packages at their current rates. And the discounts are, for the base package, you type in SAVE 40. So SAVE 40. And then for the peak package discount, it's SAVE 80, SAVE 80. So you want to make sure you take action on that before prices go up in 2017. So it's the perfect timing for you guys to know about your double discount, really.
Yeah, so with the holidays quickly approaching, don't just give to everybody else, give to yourself. And if this is a step in really creating your dream practice, that's really important. So on the website, Kate said, theprivatepracticestartup.com, you can either find it on the paperwork tab or shop. You'll get there in both places. And the other important thing to do is if you're Florida, make sure you choose the Florida package. And if you're multi-state, choose the multi-state. So that's really good things. And we do one thing I think that no one else does is we offer guarantee. So if you are like a buyer's remorse or not totally sure, you can test drive the paperwork. So if you're buying a package, we offer a 7-day money back guarantee. So no risk. Check it out if you totally don't like it, which we can't understand why.
We've never had that happen.
Yeah, we never had it happen.
We believe in it so much. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
we would be floored if someone did return, but yeah.
But if you need to, and so we wanted to let you guys test drive our paperwork. So I know that you guys are watching the video, so you can pause and rewind it. But we'll give you 1 second. Okay, great. You got a pen and a paper. So what you want to do is text the word free HIPAA, all one word. So free HIPAA, so it's a double A, to 44222. You'll get a text back to confirm your email. Once you confirm your email, you will have a download into your email box. One thing that we didn't mention, which is so important, and I know this is a question you guys are having right now at this moment, so I'm going to show you my psychic skills and answer it for you without even knowing the question, is that our paperwork comes in Word format, so it's completely customizable, meaning you can put in your own logo, your address, location, your fees. If you do special things, like I said, like maybe you do yoga and therapy combination and you needed to add some lines in there, you could do that as well. So I think that's it. So base package, peak package, free HIPAA, use our paperwork. Look, guys, we've done the work for you. Use us to get started and move forward on your private practice.
And let us know how we can inspire you along your journey from startup to mastery.
Absolutely. Do you want to tell folks about your Facebook group?
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, so we have a Facebook group. It's an insider exclusive Facebook group for mental health professionals. And our awesome podcast guests like Lisa are also invited to the group so they can interact and be an expert in regards to certain questions. So just look for the private practice startup. Ask to be part of the group. We do have to approve you. If for some reason I can't tell by your Facebook page if you're in therapy, I will send you a message. Make sure you respond to that so I know that you are actually a mental health professional, not some tech, geek in India or somewhere else, Japan, trying to get into the group because it is very exclusive. So just ask to be part of the group. We will approve you. We'll welcome you to the group, and you want to share who you are and what you're up to and some fun facts and what you want to get out of the group. And there you'll be able to connect with colleagues, share information, resources, ideas, ask questions, referrals. So thank you for suggesting that people connect with us through Facebook as well.
And thanks for having us today. It's so great to see your face again.
Oh, it's great to see the both of you as well. I've missed you.
We love being connected to you.
Thank you for your incredible offers. Seriously, folks, if you haven't taken the time to write down the information that these ladies have provided, I strongly recommend hitting rewind and getting that information again. I don't know that I could even remember all of them off the top of my head to repeat them one more time, other than save 40, save 80, and then text HIPAA. But absolutely, the privatepracticestartup.com and the Facebook group, the Private Practice Startup as well. Yes,
you got it.
And that's K2 Visionaries with Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a pleasure.
Have a great rest of your year, and we'll look forward to collaborating with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.